to the start cue. You're live.
Can you hear me?
Don, you're alive.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Man, you give me a heart attack. I thought I lost y'all again.
No, we are here and we are live.
Well,
And
it looked like it was dead as a
if
doornail
you
again, Doc.
I want to answer a question that was sent in by Tom Koberger. Tom came down and had a fitting with me a while back, and he was one of those that, you know, we've seen when we've been out in the field, that as he's going to the top of his backswing, he's trying to keep the club vertical in relationship to 12 o'clock being straight up and down with the ground rather than 12 o'clock being shorter. So as he's going up and he's getting to the top of his backswing with his hands, he starts to push his hands forward, to which I told him, what you need to get the feel of more is like reaching up and pulling down on a rope. Turn your shoulders into your 70 degrees and look at that, and that's how your hands should look in the transition point. In other words, the momentum of the club head still going back as we start to pull down causes a tiny flex of the wrist this way, just simply because it's an ellipsoid joint, meaning it bends forward and backwards and side to side. And as he was coming up, he was pushing and creating this angle rather than having a neutral angle, and then as he starts down, having that little bit of flex. And he's wanting you and me to get on the same page because he considers this, as a lot of people do, that little tiny flex, which is like taking your arm and flexing your muscle. It's basically the same movement, whereas he considers it, or as a lot of people do, think of it as wrist cock. Whereas if I take this and this is the barrel of a gun, and now this is the hammer of the gun, and I cock the hammer, my hand is now in this position, or as we call it, the waiter's position, which you see a lot of golfers nowadays in, particularly Dustin Johnson. He's one of the worst, where this is back here like this, and now that is wrist cock. The little natural movement as you start to pull down, the momentum of the head still going one way and your hands pulling down the other way, creates that tiny little flex there of release. Now, what we don't want to do in the peak performance golf swing is let that thing do like a John Daly and continue to keep on moving. As we say in the peak performance golf swing, wrist action is no wrist action, meaning we are not physically moving our wrist one way or the other. This is a reaction to momentum of weight and force as we pull down. So Don and I have never been off of the same page. It's just a matter of misunderstanding of what the vast majority of people consider to be a wrist cock. Now again, so many people, as they go up to the top of the backswing, they start pushing the club away in order to try to keep the club straight up and down, as if this way is the 12 o'clock rather than over the shoulder. So I hope that answers that question and explains it a little better. Now, Don, I'm going to turn it over to you and let you talk about your health issues. I know a lot of people out there, you're in the prayers and best wishes from a lot of guys. So why don't you fill them in on what's going on?
Okay, can everybody hear me now? Can you hear me, Doc?
Oh, we can hear you fine.
Okay, I want to add one, before I talk about that, the health stuff, I want to add one thing to what you said about the wrist cock. You're correct about it. As Dr. Armstrong once told me, we have very little hand motion. Most of our hand motion is this way, which causes the cupping of the wrist like you were talking about right here, okay, at the top of the backswing. If you try to cock the club or set the club or cock it, as to what you were talking about, is we have almost no vertical up and down, all right? So what we got is if we have good wrist action, there's no wrist action, and we stop pulling down, we're going to get that little bit of flexion right here that you talked about if you're right hand to the left wrist, and that's what a lot of people sometimes that you were talking about. But this is what we don't want, is coming up here and setting the club in the left wrist cocking. That's the one. That's the one. I mean, the only thing would be that slight little bit of flexion right there, up and down, when you're pulling the club down and trying to stop, have no wrist break. Okay, was that okay?
I think that was excellent.
Okay,
You and I have been on the same. We've been on the same page since day one.
Yeah, and again, the other thing about 12 o'clock is only if I'm swinging my club up like this now. 12 o'clock is the clock. When we say the club is 12 o'clock, it's 12 o'clock versus 12 o'clock behind us, not in front of us, not in front of me over here, behind me over there.
Down the field, not looking face on.
Okay, so first off, I want to just say thank you to everybody. It's been unbelievable. I think I've got over 200, way over 200 folks have written in to customer service and left me messages there. And I was keeping up on it till last night, and they're pouring in so much today I can't even keep up with it. But it's just absolutely unbelievable. And so I can't thank you enough. And I'm confident that everything's going to come out well. I got a phenomenal surgeon, one of the most respected in the business, and I know he's good because he's the guy that did me last time. But it's ironic today. I got this little book. I don't know if you can see it here. It says "Going to Heart Surgery," or "Going for Heart Surgery," and this was actually my old book. I got a new one this year, and I was reading it today just to think about things. And you can see, if you can see in here, I got it. I got a lot of underlines and yellow lines in here and everything else. But the biggest thing is I just want you to understand what's happening. This is my second time. Now, it's kind of a weird what happened. I'm going in, I'm getting an aortic valve replacement, and I'm also getting another bypass. But I want you to know, I've been doing a good job in trying to stay healthy. I've had two kind of things happen there. Let me talk first about the second bypass operation I have to have. When I went in the last time, I had three vein arteries that they were very worried about. And when it was all over, I was told that they gave me two bypasses because the third wasn't clogged enough, and they wouldn't. But it was only about 70%, and insurance, from what I understand. Now, I could be wrong, but this is what I understand, that the insurance wouldn't cover it, so they couldn't do it. Now, I don't know about y'all, but 70% sounds pretty clogged to me. All right? And so, but I guess it wasn't for the insurance company, so now I got to go back through it a second time. Now, the aortic valve thing's another story, and this is kind of weird. It was when I had the first bypass, I had a little bit of calcification on my aortic valve. Both my cardiologist and the surgeon said it was nothing to ever worry about, and they basically said if I had the same amount of rate for the next 40 years of my life that I've had in the first 60, it wouldn't even be enough to even to think about. But what happened in 4 years? I mean, it just clogged so bad up. But what's happening now is the valve doesn't open enough and it doesn't close enough. So I don't have enough going through, and it's just not working good at all. But they both were flabbergasted as to how could I have gotten that much calcification in 4 years as compared to 60 years of original life. And so I said to the surgeon when I was at his and originally when they sent me to the heart surgeon, it was mostly just for the valve. But then he saw when he was looking at the catheterization video, he saw my other valve, he looked at the other vein artery that wasn't done, that was clogged before, and he had already okayed me to go with you, Doc, to Chicago next week, I guess it would be this week maybe, But then when he saw that one, he said, "Holy cow, this thing is really clogged up now." And he said, "I'm taking it away. You can't go there because the heart valve wouldn't kill you, but this artery clog now could kill you if it decided to do something to you." So that's what happened. He pulled the plug on me going to Chicago. But what happened was I finally told him. He said to me, "I still couldn't understand why the heart got so much calcification." Well, I said to him, "Do you think that if I got bit by a rattlesnake a year and a half ago, that could have had any effect on this?" He said, "What?" I said, "Yeah, I got bit by a ground rattler down when I was in Florida before the PGA show in January of 2013, which is now a year and a half ago." And he got really, his eyes got really big and bugged out, and he started asking me a lot of questions. And finally he said, "I definitely think that could be the ultimate reason why that calcification happened," because he said the number one cause of calcification around heart valves or anything in your heart is due to inflammation, and what's going to inflame you more than having snake venom in you, which is a one heck of a big poison. So I think we got to the. I think he's comfortable that's probably the reason why now. So I guess maybe I got to be thankful here because without that calcification, I think that and causing my cardiologist to do the catheterization, they probably would have both not have seen that the other valve was pretty. Yeah, not the other valve, but the other artery, number 3, that wasn't done the first time, and it probably should have been done, which, again, I think it's insurance, but I'm not going to throw the money at the insurance. I'm not throwing anybody under the bus here. All I'm saying, I think it's another case of a guardian angel looking after me here to make sure I'm going to get this surgery and be in good shape so I can stay alive and keep spreading the word of peak performance golf swing and what proper club fitting and proper clubs are. So that's it for me on that topic.
Hey, we got
I
another.
don't think it would be.
We got a couple questions in, and 2 of them actually are like similar in one respect. We have a question that says, "Doc, I have had a bunch of health issues over the last year, and I have lost about 3 clubs in distance due to surgery. Should I get a refit for clubs or wait a while? The clubs I have are MOI matched."
I'm looking at the same question from Mike Spicer, I think it is, talking about his health issues, and he's lost 3 clubs in
Yeah,
distance due to surgery and other health issues, I'm sure.
yeah. We also had
Answer is,
we also had another person email in saying, "I feel I have much better command of the golf swing. Is there ever necessary to be refitted because the swing has changed?" It's kind of a similar question.
well, let's deal with the surgery and having lost 3 clubs in distance. Most definitely, there would be a good reason to be refitted. Um, the fact that the clubs were MOI matched by Bill in Ohio, and I know he did a good job, and they feel heavy now, just tells me that there's been a significant loss in strength. So a refitting is called for, number one, to get the correct shaft for the person's physical condition now, and also get the correct MOI. The other question is regarding should you get refit? Um, yeah, I mean, at what point? If you're fit at 40, the clubs that I build for you at 40 probably are not going to still fit you when you're 70. And who knows where in there is going to change? Don't know. When you start noticing that you have trouble squaring up the club head, or you have started losing significant difference in your clubs as far as distance, then it's more than likely it's probably time to get the clubs to have a reevaluation and get a new fitting and get clubs made for you then. Now, I do a lot of fittings for guys that are in their upper 70s and even in their 80s. Is there going to be a time where they need to get refit? If they live long enough, probably a good chance. If I mean, my oldest customer was 95 years old, bless his heart, and he still goes out and breaks his age, or he actually shoots mid to high 80s every time he plays. Um, I just did a new set of clubs for him last year. We took him down to junior dash. Now, for guys that are already in junior shafts, who have several men who are playing junior shafts, there will never be a need to go get refit because you can't get any softer. So I trust that that answers the question sufficiently, probably more than it needed to be, but I wanted to make sure it was understood.
Also, we got a question that actually came in from one of our certified fitters and instructors talking about MOI. You want to address that, Doc?
Sure. MOI, moment of inertia. There are two moments of inertia as golfers that we're concerned with. Number one is the MOI of the club itself, and then the MOI of the club head. Um, the MOI that Leo was asking about is going to be more involved with the MOI of the total club, which actually is an indicator of the amount of effort that it takes the golfer to swing the club head. So you get a club that's got too much MOI, which correlates to weight. It's going to be difficult for the player to control the club head and to swing the club and get proper acceleration. Conversely, you get one that's got too light an MOI, you can spray the ball all over the place as well because you don't have a real sense of feel of the golf club. So that's basically what MOI, when we're talking about a total golf club, we're referring to is how much effort does it take me to swing this club properly. And that is basically a weight issue, not just the weight of the head, the shaft, or the grip, but the total combined weight of all of those three put together go into making up the MOI of the head, or the MOI of the club.
All right, Doc, I'm going to take this a little bit farther, and I think that I can understand what you're saying, but the one time when I asked you for MOI, you gave me an answer that I think cleared it in my mind better than anything else, right? And so the length of the club can make MOI different, a lot more difficult to be achieved, right? Because the longer the club, it takes more energy to swing it and build up club head speed. And what eventually
Correct.
is the club doing relative to the shaft? It is rotating around it's going to rotate a little as you're swinging your arms properly through impact. So you told me about the best example of MOI, which makes longer clubs and bigger heads have a higher MOI. I'm correct, right?
I kind of lost you. The sound went away there. So if you would do that again for me.
I said that a longer club, and especially with a driver and a bigger head, a 460 head with the weight pushed out towards the toe because they put them out there for most golfers who swing outside in and hit the ball on the toe. So the farther you move the weight away from the axis of rotation, the shaft, the more energy it takes, more speed and energy to get that club to rotate to square. Correct?
That is correct. That is
Okay,
correct.
so you said to me, you showed me, you said, okay, imagine there's a box on the ground here, all right? And it's
Right.
full of golf balls. In fact, you had one of those milk cartons full of golf balls on your back in your studio over there. And you said, if I got this box and I got X amount of balls in here, and I kick the right corner of it, which would be like the toe of the golf club, with X amount of force, and it moves 1 inch. If I throw more golf balls in that box and I kick it with the same force, will it move the same distance? Heck no, it's going to move less. So it's going to take more
Correct.
kick, more force, more speed to do it. And that's the problem with the bigger golf clubs. And that's where MOI...
That was also the problem with the square club head.
Yeah, exactly. Because I remember you telling me, and I saw it every time I was down in your studio, and you're doing a fitting, you give a player a smaller head, especially with the irons. Remember when you did that test about bigger heads, and you started giving them smaller clubs and smaller clubs? Because I asked you to do that one time. And what were you?
Absolutely.
Let me just explain it, and then I'm going to ask you to give the results. I said, Doc, I believe that even beginners would be better off playing with a set of blades rather than these big, ugly heel and toe weighted clubs that are hollowed out in the back. Because I always said, well, what's going to hurt you more if I hit you with my fist or I hit you with a pie plate? So when you take all the weight from a golf club out of the middle and put it all around the outsides, and you keep a little thin face there, I mean, you're hitting it with like a pipe plate, in my opinion. But the point was, is I said to you, do me a favor, just start checking all of these guys, and nobody below 18 handicap. And you did it for months and months, and the first time the first club you'd give them with an iron was a big perimeter weighted club, big hollow back, big likely flanges on the bottom and everything else. And they hit that. Then you moved it down to a little bit smaller club and a little bit smaller, and you ran through 4 or 5 heads, and invariably 25 or however many it was for 25 picked what?
The smaller head.
And how
The
small
blade.
was the smaller head?
It was a blade. It was
Yeah.
significantly smaller.
And how many of them bought that
The
golf
key
club?
is the smaller the gravity is closer to the hosel. Therefore, it's easier to square it. So a smaller club will square up with less effort. The older we get, the less effort we have to spend.
Excellent.
And I'd rather my effort be spent hitting the golf ball and going down the fairway rather than trying to get the toe of the club to come around and square the key. And this is where people have in playability and forgiveness. The difference in an off-center hit with a blade to the biggest club head that you can find on an iron, on a half-inch off-center hit, the difference in distance is only a matter of feet, not yards. And the difference in shot dispersion is on inches. They are telling you the truth.
Sorry.
That the larger head is more forgiving than the small.
Sorry, Doc's having a little bit of internet connectivity issues at the moment.
Yes.
So you want me to say something, Brady?
Yeah, I don't know if Doc will be able to finish that. Maybe his connectivity will fix itself here. Doc, you back?
I didn't know I'd left.
Yeah, a little bit of connectivity issues with your broadcast there. The audio broke up heavily in the video, so a lot of what you said wasn't actually heard.
Oh, okay. Well, I should have been talking with my wife then, because she would have appreciated that. Is it back to normal now?
For the moment.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. As I was relating, the smaller head is easier to square. The difference between the larger head, the biggest head that you can find, and a blade, the difference in off-centered hits is only as far as distance is. It's just a matter of feet, not even yards. And shot dispersion is only a matter of inches, not feet. So the industry is telling you that these larger heads are more forgiving on off-center hits. Yes, they are slightly, not significantly. And what's happening is the larger heads are actually causing you to miss-hit the ball more than hitting it properly anyway. The key feature of a golf club that will make it playable for the golfer is the amount of offset. Get the right amount of offset that matches the ability of the player's release action with his hands through impact, and that player can hit any golf club you put in his hand blade-wise regardless. So I've been saying for years, small is better, and we still say smaller is better. Just to even illustrate the point further, my driver, Don's driver, is 360 cc's. This past weekend, I took out, and I won't name the names of the companies, but I took out some big-headed drivers just for my own fun, because I hadn't done it in years, to hit the big-headed drivers and compare it to my little-headed driver. let's just put it this way. It didn't take me long to put the head covers back on the big-headed drivers and not hit them anymore. So there's that. It's just so much easier to square and hit. The difference that would have made the bigger drivers more forgiving and longer initially was the fact that they were able to thin the face version heads. But now that we have the technology to thin the face and make them smaller and rebound, you can go back and use that same technology with the smaller heads, which is what we've done.
Yeah.
All right, let me interject something here, since I think I'm hanging in where not breaking up. I guess maybe here in Little Podunk Inman we got a lot better, internet than we do down here where he lives in Columbia, which is the state capital. Out there with all the politicians, or maybe they're using up all the internet on you, Doc. But when you're talking about the smaller and the bigger clubs, I think the big issue that I think that I proved at one time was way back in the beginning, before I was doing even audio dailies. I was typing them up, and everybody just kept coming on and saying, "Serge, I love your swing, man. I hit the iron so good. I hit my hybrid so good, but my driver and my 3-wood are terrible. What am I doing wrong?" And I always, and that's, I'd come right on and say, "Look, if you're hitting a whole bunch of your clubs good, and you got one or two of them that you can't hit bad, hello, it's not the Indian, it's the arrow. Okay? That means that your club is wrong." And I heard that so many times about, "I can't hit the driver, what am I doing wrong?" So finally one day I couldn't take it anymore. I was pulling hair out of my head, and I mean, it was driving me insane. And so I flipped a twig one day, and I wrote an article, and I said, "Look, if you're over 60 years old, and heck, even if you're younger, I want you to do me a test. If your wife plays golf, take her driver and 3-wood, and go to the golf course with it the next time, and you can bring yours too to test it against it. And if she doesn't, find somebody, if you got a friend whose wife plays, get her driver 3-wood, or go to a driving range and take one of the rentals, or if you remember you play at a golf course, go out there and see if you can borrow one out of their rentals, and go to the range or on the course or whatever. But just go there and hit some lady driver in 3-woods, and just tell me what happens." And I'm sure most of you have heard the story of, like, 15 years ago or something. Freddie Couples used his wife's 3-wood playing in the Bob Hope Desert Classic, and I think he might have won it, and he didn't even have a driver in the bag, and he was smoking it. Now, he didn't stay with it because it was obviously maybe too weak for him, but he played with his wife's 3-wood. But I'm going to tell you what, the next day, and for weeks afterwards, I kept getting emails come in, people going on the blog, "Serge, I can't believe how good I hit it, man. I mean, it's unbelievable." And I had one guy come in and said, "Yay, thanks a lot, Serge. I've been beating the brains out of my buddies for like 7 years playing with my wife's driver in 3-wood, and you just gave them the secret." I said, "Well, I didn't give it to you. You just did it. You just told right here when you wrote this on the blog." But the point was, why did they hit it better? The clubs were shorter, and the heads were smaller. And then let's go back to today. Why can everybody hit hybrid so darn good, but they got trouble hitting full-length 5-woods and especially 3-woods and drivers? Because they're way too long most of the time. Look, put a hybrid, if you have a 3 hybrid, put that up against a 3-wood. They're probably what, Doc? 3, 4, 5 inches shorter?
3-wood is 43 and a half, and 3 hybrid is like 39 inches. So
there you go.
Yeah, you're looking for 4.5 inches.
Ours hybrid's a 5 hybrid. It's over 4 inches shorter. Right? And I mean, look at you said the average 3-wood out there is the length of your driver and mine.
That's
right?
correct.
My 3-wood's 42 inches.
So we had another person write in, Randy Wolf, stated how he was at a golf course recently, or a demo day, and witnessing some golfers spending some time with some fitters, and they were only spending about 10 or 15 minutes with each golfer, and he made note of his shock. You want to talk about what we do when we do with fittings and our instruction when you come to our stuff?
spend longer than that saying hello. You know, and Randy, for those who don't know,
Doc,
website we go through the entire fitting.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
Randy is a good golfer, so he knows what a real fitting is because that video was an hour and 26 minutes. So he's seeing people spend 10 and 15 minutes getting a fitting. That's really not a fitting. What you're doing is getting a head, putting a shaft in it, try this, try this. They're able to put together a combination where you at least come close to hitting the ball in the center of the club face, in which case it's going to feel better to you than one where you're hitting it out on the toe or whatever. When you come and see us and one of the schools or in the fittings, I mean, we're spending an hour and a half minimum with you, where we're going through and I like to use the analogy that the OEM fittings, whether it be at a demo day or you go into a golf shop or you actually even go to the company and have a fitting, it's like getting on and them dropping you off at a ball game and just leaving you there. What we do is we not only
Apologize for the problems with Doc's audio again. He seems to be
let me
flaking
take
out
over
again.
here. I'll punch in until Doc can get back online, I guess, very well. But yeah, our fittings take a lot more time, and they're a lot more exact, and that's critical. And I'll give you an example of how important a fitting was. When Doc and I first really started doing this about 4 years ago or whatever, every now and then golfers would come in and they'd sign up for a fitting and they'd call me and say, "Hey, can you come and give me a lesson down at Doc's place?" Well, Doc and I are 100 miles apart, so it takes you about an hour and a half, hour, 40 minutes to get there. And so I used to say, "Okay, I'll work with you for a couple hours beforehand, before the fitting, and get your swing better." It took me like 2 or 3 of those, and I finally decided, no, I'm wasting my time. If their clubs are awful, then I mean, it's like trying to put like a size 10 foot into a size 8 shoe. It just isn't working. And so finally I just said, okay, I want you to get fitted first, so once Doc knows what you need, I can give you a heck of a lot better lesson with a demo club of his that he knows is right for you. And that shows you how important fitting is. And I guess, and I think there's no better way to say how important it is when, even though these people were Surgites and they had pretty good swings, it's amazing how much better they could be with their with better golf clubs. Right, Doc?
You got it. I remember that one case from the guy that was in Chicago. You got so frustrated, you came over and said, "I need a break. Go over there and do your fitting." And then when you came back, you asked what in the world I had done, and all my answer was, "I put him in a club that he could swing."
Oh, how about this one? The other one. Hey, by the way, Brady, I got to compliment you. That's a I guess because you knew you were going to be in here to people all over the world. You got a really good hair. Your hair's nice and neat and everything else, Brady.
You're right.
But anyway, remember the other one that's remarkable, Doc, was Phoenix this year. Remember that day we had the two extremes? I had the shorter guy, the Canadian man on the right, that I was having all kinds of trouble, and I never suspected his clubs were really way too long. And then we had the guy, we had the Jolly Green Giant on the end, 6'11". Remember, Mr. Tall?
Yep.
And that's the day we took the picture with me and with him and Stretch, who's 6'5", and I was standing there like a midget. Well, anyways,
Yes, sir.
guess what happened? The short guy, his clubs were too long, and the long guy, his clubs were too short, right?
Correct.
And yet his clubs were like what?
Way
2 inches
too short.
standard? And he got and the short guy,
Yeah.
he got his clubs fitted at a major club company who's supposedly the premier fitters, right? And they were so wrong it was a joke. Correct?
That's right.
And
And he
the other
had me
guy
do
had his
him a
clubs
set
fitted,
that was right.
and the tall guy had his clubs fitted too, and they actually came up too short.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's a funny thing to talk about length. There was another person, David Wolf, that wrote in, said, I saw a college golf tournament a week ago on TV, and the players had all his clubs the same length, and he was wondering what's the comment on length in regards to that statement, since we're speaking about length.
Yeah. So here we go. We got the one club length for all clubs. Some people hit them better. I had a guy come to me once when I was at Harbortown back in the '90s, and he invented a set, and he said, "This is the greatest thing since sliced bread." I said, "Okay." So I'm hitting golf balls, and yeah, I hit them all straight, but I mean, I couldn't. There was no appreciable distance between too many golf clubs, and I mean, I didn't hit them anywhere near the length of my golf clubs. But I've had people swear by them. So, does it work for some folks and not for others? I know it didn't work for me, and it doesn't make sense to me how one club the same length is going to. You can't create as the clubs get longer and you make the same swing. The longer club is going to go faster, right? If you can generate the speed.
That is the theory. The point of the one length golf club is simply this. They're telling you that it keeps your hands in the same position.
Correct. That's the big thing.
That
One
is
shot for
true.
all clubs.
But in a normal set of golf clubs where you have the length progression with the loft progression, you can take your driver, and if you sole it and address the club properly, the shaft points to your left hip pocket or just inside at the groin area. Now, if you take your sand wedge or lob wedge, let's go to lob wedge, shortest club in the bag, you sole it on the ground properly because of the difference in the length and the difference in the way the loft is set, you will notice that that handle points to the exact same spot. And if you set up properly in the master setup position, regardless of whether it's driver or lob wedge, your hands will be in the same position. What changes is the relative position of the body distance-wise from the ball. So the only thing that I see from the one club length or the same club length would be I only have to learn one ball position. Whoop-de-doo. And if this guy is a college player, certainly you would think that he is good enough that he could learn the pitching wedge is further back in his stance than the 7-iron or the 5-iron or the 3-iron or what have you. I'm almost willing to bet that this young man playing college golf was not playing one of the 1-iron sets that you would find that are out there called the 1-iron. He probably had his cut down and weighted specifically for him just for the simple reason of control. And again, I don't know how far his irons went, whether it went all the way up to a 3-iron. But you think about it, a 3-iron and a pitching wedge are totally different in weights of the head. The 3-iron is a lot lighter than a pitching wedge. So if you're whacking your 3-iron down, I mean, you're making a club really, 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 really light. You got to go back and add a ton of weight, which means now you've got to tip the shaft properly to accommodate that weight. So, I mean, I would love to get hold of that guy's set and run it through the paces and check it and see just what was done to it. I find it very interesting, but I would seriously doubt that there is a college golf player, I mean, if it's a Division I school especially, that would be playing a set of the 1-iron golf clubs. I just find it hard to believe.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, all I know is I hit them well, but they didn't go far enough, and there was no way I would ever put them in play. but because they couldn't sustain, they just weren't right. But so with that, I think another topic that I would like to discuss at this moment would be let's just go over and think about just the U.S. Open was played at just finished and had a runaway victory there. But I did want to say something that Eric Compton finished second, and I think they said a little bit about it. But in case people don't know, Eric Compton is a very young PGA professional golfer that is just phenomenal guy, young man, same age as DJ. DJ played junior golf with him, played college golf with him because they were. Eric Compton went to Georgia, University of Georgia, but the
You want to get into the
Eric Compton had two heart. He had one as about a 12-year-old, and he had another one I think about 4 or 5 years ago, and two heart replacements, and he's out there playing on the PGA Tour and running up in the U.S. Open. So that just goes to show you that all of us older folks who are having these heart issues, we got something good to look forward to. You're going to be a new person. And so I just wanted to bring that up. And by the way, Eric was very, very vertical. His backswing was just about pure. And the only thing I'd say to Eric, and I do know Eric, he's a good young man. Every time I see him out on tour, we always talk a little bit because again we're both in a Zipper Club, and I'm joining him as a two-timer tomorrow. But the only thing I tell Eric is, Eric, and if you really want to tighten up your flight pattern, just get to a perfectly T finish right here. None of this finishing over here to the left. His backswing is great, but he's finishing wide. And that's one thing I see with a lot of I'm seeing, fortunately, a lot more verticalness on the PGA, LPGA, but I'm still seeing too much finishing too far left. And in the end, I think it's more important to finish into the forward catcher's mitt, because if you're finishing left and you're already starting pulling across the ball a little bit, going to impact before you hit the ball, it's gonna make a bigger change. And like I've said in the past, when I first started figuring this swing out, if somebody had a long backswing and a big turn, I immediately fixed that up. But nowadays, if I see a halfway decent backswing, even a 25% decent backswing with an awful finish, I go and fix the finish first, because why? You don't hit the ball with the backswing, you hit it with the forward swing. And so I figure that'd be the best thing. I don't know if y'all can see Grady, but he's actually wearing a swing surgeon hat right now.
Hey, Don.
.com. And pretty soon you might be.
I think Doc was trying to ask a question.
Oh, what's that?
I'm telling you, Vaughn just walked in. A lot of the Surge Nation knows who she is because they put her on her prayer list. And this is my best friend here, and I wanted people to get a chance to see her, because she is, like I've said many times, she's a walking miracle. And I want to thank all the folks that prayed for her many years ago. It's been 4 years now, and this is she.
Hello.
So it's my best friend. Now you can get up. Okay. I love you, baby.
Scott, what's going on here? I thought I was your best friend.
Oh no, you're second best.
Okay. Well, for some people that might not know, tell what happened. Tell what happened to Vaughn, and what she came, and how she was, what kind of cure, so to speak, she had. Because we're on medical stuff on this call.
August the 2nd, 4 years ago, she was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer, and we went through some conventional treatments, the chemo and the radiation, and we also used some holistic stuff, since my dad is basically a holistic counselor, if you will, and then a lot of prayer. And I firmly believe that the good Lord worked a miracle in her. And like I said, she is my best friend, and I'm glad to have her still around. So.
All right. So again, I want to play on this stuff. And I've heard you say this to a couple people that have asked you at good schools, because they know some that have been with us at that time knew it. What was the basic of the holistic treatment that your dad made up? It had something to do with, because we know that as long as I think it's a known fact that if you have alkaline level blood, blooded alkaline level versus the acidic. You cannot, if it's alkaline, you don't get cancer. And cancers love sugar,
Correct.
right? So explain what happened
They
and what you think is a major thing at why she licked cancer, besides the prayer.
we used 3 parts maple syrup to 1 part baking soda, all natural aluminum-free baking soda, and the maple syrup is what is attracted to the cancer cells, and the baking soda, once it's inside the cancer cell, basically neutralizes it and kills it and keeps it from being able to reproduce itself in in an abnormal way. And last year when we were in Australia, one of our surgites down there approached me and said, that he had been diagnosed with cancer and he had lived long enough and he just wasn't even going to bother going through the chemo and the radiation and stuff. And I shared with him this concoction that we use, and I got an email from him not long ago telling me that he was feeling great. The cancer had not progressed. He was feeling better than he had in years, and things were going really, really well for him. So I was tickled pink to hear that. And, anytime that we have an opportunity, we share this story and testimonial with people because cancer is very rampant. And,
So
and I
two
think
points,
it
Doc.
can be eradicated.
Okay,
Say again?
2 points. Number one, he did not take the chemo and all that other stuff.
Correct.
Number two, does this work for most cancers?
That's a really good question. I am not, if we talk club fitting and stuff, I'm an authority there. Um, as far as, if you had leukemia or something of that nature, would it work? I think that's a different type of cancer. I think this would work on the types of cancer where you have abnormal cell growth and that sort of thing. And again, she was at stage 4, dude. I mean, the tumor that was inside of her left lung took up the entire upper left lobe and most of the lower lobe as well. And the doctor described it when he talked to us. He said about the size of a big grapefruit. And each trip now, she's on a 6 months visit. It's shrunk down smaller than a golf ball, and he says basically what he sees that's left there that's continuing to get smaller is just basically scar tissue. So.
Okay, so one last point. One last point here. Stage 4 basically is pretty close to a death rate on average.
Yeah, I personally lost a close friend of mine that had stage 4 colon cancer at 36 years old. He was a guy I rode motocross with, worked out every day. At 36 years old, he found out he had stage T4 cancer, and at 40 years old, he was in the grave.
Yeah, there is no stage 5.
Okay, so one last thing, Doc. Then how about I give you a task so that when we do our next hangout, because I really want to start doing these regularly. And I got a feeling that once I get home from the hospital in about a week or 2, I should be okay to be able to sit here at my desk and do these again, because it shouldn't hurt my voice. And I'm just going to stay kind of still. So I really like to get these going, maybe thinking about 2 weeks, and we can let everybody know on the website. But in that 2 weeks, you think you could talk to your dad and find out how, if that 3 parts maple syrup, does it have to be Vermont maple syrup?
Well, it needs to be an all-natural maple syrup.
Right. But the point is will the maple syrup and the baking soda work for most of them, or not? And if they're not, how do they look up and find a holistic person that might want to give them, that they could contact, that could, if they want to do the chemo, at least they can cover it with holistics. Because I've heard, my daughter Kim is into a lot of scientific things, and through you, and I read a lot of this stuff, and I've heard stories about Native Indians have all these cures that are natural, and they've taken people with stage 4 diagnoses that were just told to get their will ready and everything else, and they give them their stuff, and it cures them just like what happened with Vaughn. So there's a whole lot of them out there, and I mean, medicine is great. I'm not dogging on any medicine here because I'm hoping it's going to be great tomorrow. All right. From what I hear,
Right.
they're going to have me on more machines breathing for me because with the valve thing, my heart's not going to be pumping anymore or something, and it's going to be a respirator machine. So, but I'm not saying. I'm always saying if there's something else, I'm all for it, and I'm big into trying to eat better. And again, I'm going to say, my heart surgeon this year did say the bypasses that he did were clean and everything else. And this is before he saw the bad valve, and he said, "You're clean. It's obvious you're doing things right. You're eating well. You're staying healthy. You're staying fit." And he said, so that's why he was even more flabbergasted about the calcium and everything else. So one of the things I've always wanted on swingsurgeon.com is to be more than just golf swing and golf clubs. I want it to be a place where people could come and you and I can introduce them to those two things, and then introduce them to, like, Dr. Armstrong. I want to get him on these and everything else, and get other folks. And maybe sometime we ought to get your dad on here if he's willing to talk. I mean, I want it to be more than just golf. I want it to be life-changing, to make that we can live a better life, not only as better golfers, but more healthy, and play longer golf. And look at this year. At the first school I did, I had a man, 92 years old, wanting to get better. I mean, what other sport can you do that in? So I would really like to be able to have swingsurgeon.com, since it is surgeon and it has a medical tone to it, that this site's going to be a lot more than just the golf swing and club fitting, and how to play better golf mentally and emotionally and all those other things. So maybe the next time we could do it, because your dad lives pretty close to you, doesn't he?
Yeah, he lives about 10 minutes from me.
Wow, so that means maybe he could sit there on the side of you, like I did with when you and I was side by side in Australia, and we could open up for questions to him, since he does have holistic health training.
Correct.
Yeah, I guess kind of we're getting close to our hour time. We don't have to end, but I know we got a lot of things about to happen over the next couple of months. Don's surgery is tomorrow, of course, but we're trying to, since Don will be out of commission for a while, we're trying to see what we can do about golf schools going forward. Unfortunately, we had to cancel the Chicago school. Something that we hardly ever have done before is cancel a school. We hate to do that, but we're looking at what we're going to do going forward with the golf schools for the next couple of months until Don is back up to where he can teach schools again. So stay close. We're working on some plans for golf schools as well while Don is out, and then those schools will definitely involve Doc and more ways than one. And we're working on some details as far as those, and we're working on some more schools. I don't want to say where we may be going specifically yet, because we haven't finalized the details. Until we get those finalized, we don't publicize them, because things can change at a moment's notice. But we're definitely looking in New England. We're definitely looking at the West Coast, the U.S., and we also got some other new stuff coming online. That if you've been following us on Facebook or Google Plus or Twitter, I leaked a tiny photo of a new product that we're working on and should be live very, very soon. Just a hint, and it heavily involves Doc.
Well, it involves Don too, but yeah. So we don't want to spill the beans totally, but the search patient can be prepared off, and we'll just say for the sake of argument, something coming out in the field of equipment. So we'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm working on something equipment-wise too that hopefully will be coming out in the near future. And some other things we got. We got a lot of things in the, shall we say, in the basket just waiting to happen. And hopefully some of these things will maybe come out before I'm actually back teaching again. But stay tuned. We got some cool stuff. And one last thing I'd like to say about products is you can see Brady right there has got Swing Surgeon hats. We got those available. And I will give a bleep. I shot a daily the other day, and I shot a daily, and see he's got the other logo on the side of the hat.
Yeah.
And
yeah, this particular hat is this hat is the fitted hat. If you're wondering, it doesn't have a clasp on the back. A lot of time I shoot photos, so I like something that doesn't have a clasp on it because I got a camera up against my head, and the little clasp will generally dig into your forehead when you're using a camera. But yeah, it has the logo on one side of the fitted hat. So you see a lot of baseball players using these hats, these fitted hats.
yeah, so I'm just gonna make another point. I shot a daily the other day, which involved an email from a website called sunsafety.org, and I'm big on them because you know I love the whole thing about staying healthy. And I had a basal cell carcinoma removed from my right cheek over here about 3 years ago. Unfortunately, it wasn't malignant, and I'm a believer in sunscreen and everything else. And in this day, and I got an email from sunsafety.org, and I read the whole email for the daily, so you should be seeing that any time now. And in it, he said, even as important and maybe more important than sunscreen is to go out and try to get apparel now that has a sun repellent value to them. It's got they make some clothes now, and I did another daily with this bigger hat I found that had even a bigger brim front and back to keep my face covered more. And I asked you all to vote on it, whether you liked it or not. And but the key was that hat had a sun repellent UVB 50% sun repellency on it. And so I also used that when a Sun Safety daily was being done. I actually mentioned that again at swingsurgeon.com in the search shop. We have some golf shirts on there, men's and ladies, and they have both wicking value, which means when you perspire, it takes it away from your body, and they have the sun UVB ratings on them. So you can get some of those, and you can have the Swing Surgeon logo that you see on the front of Brady's cap on a double piece on the shirt. So you could be like me right now. I think you can see here. Here's a Swing Surgeon on my left chest, and there's a double piece there. Or you can put them on a sleeve or something if you want. But you can get either or both of the logos. And
well, the shirts come predefined. It's a Swing Surgeon logo on the chest and the double P's on the shoulder.
Okay, so, that's what it is. All right. But we do have multiple colors, numerous styles, but you got to make sure you read because some of them don't have the UVB, but I think the majority of them do have the UVB rating, and they are they're wicking. They got that whipping thing. So we're trying to get some other things up there on that website for you, and hopefully there's going to be a whole lot of in the near to definitely farther out future, where swingsurgeon.com is going to become a lot bigger and better site for y'all.
Yeah, so following up with Doc's comments and what we were talking about earlier, keep a watch on the website. We'll have something coming online in the next week, 2 weeks, that something we've been working on for 8-10 months now. And it comes from the leaked photo. I mean, I leaked a small, tiny little photo on the social media. We had someone Tom just wrote in asking about plans for golf schools. We are planning golf schools, and like I said, we can't tell any particular location until we have everything completely ironed out because we're a traveling golf school, which is unlike 99% of the golf schools out there. So we have to have everything completely ironed out and done with the school before we can make it public. So we can't even we can't even conjecture to tell you where we may be coming because, you know, even
I
though we're
don't know.
discussing stuff with a location, it could be, you know, in one day things could change and we couldn't be able to go there. So all I can really tell you is we're planning schools as much as we can. Keep a watch on the website. The official schedule for the schools is DonTrahanAcademyofGolf.com. We do not post anything there that is not actually set in stone. And furthermore, we honestly can't tell you where we're coming beforehand until we have some solid plans in place, because we don't want to we don't want to break expectations, a little bit of expectation management on the school-wise. But it's very hard for us being a traveling school. We have to work with locations. They have to allow us in. We have to work with scheduling, stuff like that. But just be patient with us, and as the schedule matures and as we add more dates, they will be posted on DonTrahanAcademyofGolf.com and the golf schedule, which also appears on the right side of SwingSurgeon.com in the blogs in a small square telling you the latest golf school schedule.
Let me add one thing to that. We got no problem going places. The big thing is we have two parameters that we have to go to someplace. We have to have enough surgites that it makes it worthwhile for us to go there. So and we need to find locations. So if you live in any kind of really major metropolitan area that has a really big, that you know of, golfing population, you could send in a request. You could send in and you could help find us a club, a golf course, or a driving range that has a good facility. Now, naturally, if we're doing golf schools, we like to have a long game area and a short game, because when I come, I like to do long game in the morning, short in the afternoon. So we need a range and possibly a short game place, and some ranges have great short game areas, and it'll work. Our golf course, we prefer to have a place that has, for full days, that has a decent dining area where we can have some type of a reasonable sandwich or something for lunch. But if you can find a place like that, and a place that would allow us to come, send it into customer service, and we'll get it checked out, and preferably the contact person. But the first thing we'll do is we're going to check out that is a surgite population in like a 250-mile radius. What we consider a certain number to have is good for us to be able to go there. If that works, we'll get in touch with them and try to bring it there. And then I'll probably call, if you send it in, contact you back to help us out there too. But if you want us to come near to you, put in the suggestions, note and the name of the place. But the first thing we got to check is the surgite population big enough? So again, and we've had some people come and say, well, hey, if you can come here, I'll guarantee you X amount of students. But we'd like, that might help too. But we'd like to come to you, but we need help finding the places. But the first thing we check is the surgite population reasonable enough for us to put it all together. But if you can do that, we'd like to come and see you, right, Doc?
You got it. Absolutely.
Brady, any more questions that have come in?
No more. We got no more questions. We're a little bit over our time span, our time slot. So, do you got any last things you want to talk about? Regards to U.S. Open, regards to anything golf related you like to end on, or just any random comments?
Well, I'm just going to say it was a great U.S. Open, totally different type of golf course, and it held up without the rough with that natural area, but the greens were extremely severe. I mean, it's not too often you see tour players chipping onto a green and they chip over it and they chip back over, going back the other way, and land them on the middle of the green, and they roll 30 feet or sometimes 20 yards off the green, because those greens were fast and they were kind of crowned a little bit, I guess you could call them, but it was a different experience. Yeah. But so that, I think I'll just finish with that, and it was a great. Martin Keimer just played spectacular golf, and I guess the only other thing I'd like to finish with is Doc. I think you and I are both good with doing these as often as we can, and I think hopefully I would think within 2-3 weeks at the max I ought to be able to sit back here in this chair again and do one again. And so let's hope that within 2 to 3 weeks we'll be back here. 2 or 3 weeks from tomorrow, because my surgery's tomorrow. I'm in at 8 o'clock. Doc and I are going to try to start doing this on a regular basis, and possibly having some guests come on with us. Because Brady, can we have a third party? Well, do we count you as a third party, or can we get a third party besides you? Because you're going to run this thing. You're our tech guy.
Yeah, we can run with more people, no problem.
Okay, Brady is the CTO of Chief Technical Officer of SwingSurgeon.com, and he's got a partner on his side of the business, Scott Weiss, that helps him out. But Brady's our main guy here, and so if we can have more, we can have. And how far away can they be, Brady? Can they be like on the other side of
anywhere.
Australia?
They can be anywhere.
They could be anywhere except the moon, I guess. Then, right? Cool. So we can start having more guests here. We can line that up, because I got a lot of people I know that you love talking to, and I'm sure Doc, I'd love to have Tom Wishon on one day.
Yes, and Tom has agreed to do that.
Good. Now, one last point on that. That you put out a thing one time on a daily or something that had something to do about. He made a list of a whole bunch of things about clubs. Is that available for people to go and read? Because I mean, you talk about the manifesto of what a fitted club is versus buying one off the shelf. That was unbelievable. Do we have that anywhere on Swing Surgeon right now that they can go look? And if not, how can we get it?
The 12 myths, they can go and actually download it off of my website, which is docgriffingolf.com. The report that he put out regarding the fallacy of adjustable hosel technology.
That was pretty interesting.
They can email me and I can send them a copy of that. That is a very eye-opening report. It's about 10 pages long.
Is there any way we could get those two things on swingsurgeon.com too?
Yeah, I mean
Sure.
they've been on Don Trahan Academy of Golf associated with the fitting sessions and stuff like that. We don't have them on swingsurgeon.com specifically, but they have been downloadable through Don Trahan Academy of Golf through some of the fitting sessions with Doc, but we haven't got it on swingsurgeon.com specifically yet.
Okay, so let's just say that our hope is next week we can have, the next time we're on, in 2 to 3 weeks, maybe you can get your dad there, and if we can line up Tom Wishon, I'd love to talk to him too. But he might be, I think he's going to be good enough for just like one guest for a 1 hour show, right?
Yeah, you don't want to, you want to give him an adequate amount of time.
Oh yeah, we don't want to shortchange him. I mean, he's a giant in the club fitting business. I mean, he's about level with you, isn't he? I can't help but tell you when you say it.
Yeah, I am a strong student of Tom Wishon. Let's put it that way.
Okay, so he's a mentor.
A lot of what I've learned has been as a result of Tom Wishon.
Great. Well, we will definitely have to have this show, and maybe we'll say that it's a good chance. Like this one, it will run over an hour, because if it's good stuff, we don't want to cut them short.
That's right.
Yeah. All right.
All right.
Speaking of that, I think we should probably wrap this up. It's over an hour now.
All right. So I guess let me close this like I do. You know, in the backyard driving range, I say, "This is the surgeon. I'll be talking to you soon from the backyard driving range." So hopefully, I'll be talking to you soon, in 2 or 3 weeks max, from the surge desk up in my home office. And Doc will be, I guess, at his office, and Brady will be in his. And with that said, go ahead.
I'll end my part the way that I normally do, with the first thing first is that you will be in our prayers and a speedy recovery. And then, as always, better golf is just a fit away.
Especially when you're using a peak performance golf swing. And with
There you go.
I'll close this for today. So thank you all for listening. And those of you who are going to hear it on the website by clicking on it, because it will be there in a reasonable amount of time. You can go, or if you listened to it today and you want to listen to it again, it'll be on the website to click on. And so with that, I'll sign off, and we'll look forward to talking to you all soon, and no more than 2 to 3 weeks on another Google Hangout.
Yeah, thanks everyone for coming. We'll update everyone via email after Don's surgery, just to give everybody an update. And we thank you all for watching and listening, and hope to be doing this again very soon.
Yep, and hopefully maybe we can figure out where Doc's problem is over there. Maybe have to.
Yeah, we'll work on that one.
Yeah. All right. Well, again, thanks everybody from Doc, Brady, and myself. We'll be talking to you soon.